welcome to SVG-TV News for Wednesday, December 30th, 2020. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. The internal effusive eruption at the La Soufrière volcano is continuing. Providing the nation with an update on his weekly program on NBC Radio this morning, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves said the volcano continues to ooze magma from inside the crater. However, the scientists cannot predict at this time whether the seeping or oozing of the magma would cease or a big bang could occur, moving to an explosive eruption. PM Gonsalves said a team of 3 scientists from the UWI Seismic Research Center in Trinidad will be bringing with them additional equipment to help with the further monitoring of the situation. The seismic scientists are expected in SVG tomorrow. The Prime Minister further noted that after yesterday's news conference, he chaired a meeting of the National Emergency Council, and a meeting was held today with a working group to look at the National Emergency Management Plan and the National Volcano Emergency Plan. He said they are hoping for the best but planning for the worst, and urged residents in the danger zone to be on the alert, but emphasize that no evacuation order has been issued. The danger zone in the northeastern corridor stretches from Georgetown to Fancy, and in the northwestern corridor from Belial to Richmond. The Prime Minister said what they are doing now is to ensure that all the necessary supplies and equipment are in place, including having suitable buildings in safe areas for use as possible volcanic emergency shelters if the need arises, as some 16,000 plus persons may need to be evacuated.
Say you don't have enough guest houses or hotels to put people in if you were to evacuate. You have to be careful how many persons at this time of COVID that you put inside of a school, for instance. You didn't have as many guest houses then as you have now. But you'll have to try, we'll have to be careful how we house people. Nemo has a way of doing it. I mean, and all this is in the plans. You try to keep as best as possible families together. Single men, it's a different story. You would put them in separate areas, and we have to be mindful about how we house women generally and girls.
Dr. Gonsalves said the scientists have assured him that they will do their best to ensure that at least 48 hours advance notice is provided to move persons to safe grounds if the worst were to happen. He, however, pointed out that nature can be unpredictable.
This is why you have to be on alert and why all of us have to be prepared. This is not an easy exercise. And we have to do it as seamlessly as practicable in all the circumstances. And above all, we have to keep a patience and a calm. You know, I preach that all the time, a patience and a calm. And we don't panic. I know it's in the nature of human beings. From the time something is unusual taking place, the animal instinct for survival, and sometimes reason goes out of the door and or the window. But we just have to be patient, and we have to be calm, and we have to be disciplined.
In terms of transportation, the Prime Minister said now more than ever, all government vehicles must be available if needed to transport persons, especially from the danger zone. And he cautioned the drivers of these vehicles that particularly at this time, the government vehicles should be used for official purposes only.
And don't try and mask an official purpose, but it is really a private purpose. Please, I'm asking you. Sometimes we have to play quote-unquote policeman, but it doesn't make sense. People tell me it's not being abused. We put systems in place, and these are to be managed by the permanent secretary in each ministry. It's their responsibility. And there are persons who will try to breach the system by going around it, because in fairness to the permanent secretary, he or she can't be there all the time, you know, and you have to rely on basic honesty of folks. Particularly at this time, we're going to keep an eagle eye out. I could get policemen to have checkpoints, you know. And I will do it if I am pushed to do it. Now, more than ever. I don't want to hear that somebody has a government vehicle gallivanting on a private venture when it should be there available to be dispatched.
The Prime Minister also appealed to the general public to be responsible, especially about what they post on social media. He said now is not the time to cause hysteria or unnecessary panic.
People who will be responsible don't buy into that kind of stuff. Some people already started. Some people just like think that something bad is happening. It's like they revel in negativism. And I'm sorry for such people. I'm really truly sorry for them, because I don't know what would go on into their minds. Not to consume yourself with that kind of a thing, and listen to the official voices. We have a history of dealing with natural disasters, and we deal with them openly and honestly. Like, for instance, yesterday, we used the technology of the Zoom to have the scientists talk directly to the media from Trinidad, talk to them from the Seismic Research Center.
Dr. Gonzalez also made another appeal for persons not to visit the Soufrière volcano at this time, as it is dangerous. He said several communities have already reported a strong smell of sulfur.
Closer you get to it, the sulfur would make it very difficult for you to breathe. And the heat is going to be coming from it. You have to be our guys from the seismic, from the Soufrière monitoring unit here, who went up yesterday, very brave. One of them gave a report yesterday to the National Emergency Management Council, and there's a brother from ESPO. These guys is a seismic technician. These guys are brave, but they have been trained to do what they are doing. But you and I must stay away. And those of you, you know, that one person asked a question yesterday from the media, what about the guys who are in the forest, in the hills? And Dr. Robertson, who is a leeward man, says, well, believe me that the guys who are up there, they have a great respect for the forest and Soufrière. As soon as they begin to see activity, they will be coming out, because they would know either for themselves.
The alert level at the Soufrière volcano remains orange at this time. And the National Emergency Management Organization carried out a reconnaissance of the volcano today, and pictures taken have been sent to the UWI Seismic Research Center for analysis. Director of NEMO, Michelle Forbes, explained what was observed today in the crater.
And we have observed a continuous extrusion of magma effusively, without associated seismic activity. That means that the magma continue to come out on the surface, very oozing out, but we are not receiving any seismic signals to indicate that is happening. So it's still coming out very slowly. We have also noted an increase in the size of the magma, and we still obviously have the steam coming out as the hot lava and hot material reaches surface. It is cooling off and interacting with, of course, water. So we have the steaming still happening at the volcano.
Forbes emphasized the need for persons not to visit the volcano. She referred with concern to a video circulating on social media posted by someone who said they had visited the volcano today.
We want to encourage persons. Today we saw someone on the volcano actually recording live. We really want to insist that persons do not visit the volcano at this time unless you are authorized to do so. It is extremely dangerous because of the strong sulfur smell on the gases that are being emitted. You can fall. We can have small effusions, effusive actions happening. So we want to encourage persons. The National Parks would have sent out a release today to persons.
Many residents who live in the danger zones are already making preparations to evacuate if the order comes to do so. And at the community level, mobilization is already in train. Chair of the Disaster Preparedness Committee in Oya, Ingrid Lavey, told SVG-TV News that a meeting was held today where residents were told of the possibilities of an evacuation. She said that the challenge they face is that elderly persons are reluctant to be evacuated.
That's another thing, because the older folks, they have this mentality of not moving out. You're not moving, no matter what. You're not moving. They're staying right here. What is to be must be, and that is their mentality. You know, they're not moving. So we are seeing how we can really talk to them to get them to see the importance of getting out of here, seeing that we are in the red zone. You know, and your life matters. Maybe, you know, well, when I think about 79, we wasn't that developed as today. You know, today people have a lot of all kind of pliers.
Some persons, however, appeared to be taking early precautions. One resident at Oya said she evacuated her elderly father since yesterday, and some residents at Fancy, pointing to their 1979 experience, say they are keeping a constant eye on their surroundings.
My mother is shut in, so we already sent she buy a home in Glen because she can't walk. So if anything happens, we can't struggle with she, like in the night especially. So we already sent she down, and then we know we go try to see what we can do. We already packed some stuff, important like documents and things what we gonna need, necessary things in case of any emergency.
Fancy, when the news broke, persons get concerned but not panicked. Right now they have persons packed. They have a lot of villagers already packed their bags from experience in 1979. They knew how it was. So from experience, they are packing and getting ready in case any evacuation.
On the leeward end, residents in the danger zone said they are prepared. Some persons said yesterday they were panicking, but today things have normalized.
But you know, it's rather quiet down here. Yesterday, residents were almost scared, and you know, all the people, you know, their relatives came for them and take them like to Barley and Legu and those areas. But yesterday, people in the community, they were packing and moving out to safer areas. Well, I'm preparing myself. In case of anything, I'm prepared.
We are concerned here in North Leeward. I'm calling from North Leeward, really. And we are concerned. But nevertheless, people are going around in a normal way, as usual. Now and then you get a little haze over the La Soufrière, but then it clears up and it's quite a sunny day. But right about now, it's a dark on the cloud over there. I'm standing right here and looking at it. Because I know I am prepared. If anything, I should be able to move quickly. So I get up in the morning, I look, to see if there's any changes. But more or less it's the same all the time, but slightly cloudy now. But today was very bright and sunny, blue skies and everything.
Still no way, I am still frightened or not, because I live right on the hill and I face everything.
Dr. Joselle Miller, psychologist and CEO of the Value Experience, urged people to be calm in the midst of difficult issues facing St. Vincent and the Grenadines, including the COVID-19 pandemic and the eruption of the volcano.
At this time, a lot of persons seemingly would be overly concerned and very anxious, and we have reasons to be. Given that we have just heard about the activity with the volcano, plus we are still in the COVID season, it is very important for each and every one of us to remain somewhat calm amidst all that is going on around us. And the need for that is important because when persons get into panic mode, you tend not to think and process information in an accurate way.
In an interview with SVG-TV News today, Dr. Miller advised persons not to share false news about the issue on social media, but rather to listen to reputable sources for their information.
Persons to desist from actually, sharing information that is inaccurate, doing anything on social media or in any circle that can cause what we consider to be mass hysteria, where you are basically heightening the threat and making things seem beyond what it actually is. I would encourage persons to take the time to actually listen to the relevant authorities. NEMO, any press conference with the Prime Minister, any press conference with the Chief Medical Officer and those persons who are involved actively in the response, those are the persons that you need to listen to.
She further advised that persons should not apply negative coping mechanisms, but ensure that they are prepared mentally and physically in the event they have to evacuate.
Try not to go into any negative coping mechanisms, drinking, smoking, all of these different things. You have to make sure that you position yourself to be in the right position for whenever we are instructed that we have to take action or we have to move, that you are already positioned to do so. So you do all of the necessary. You make sure that things around you, you have enough food, water, all of these things, just as if you're preparing for a hurricane. And I am pretty sure as time goes by and we have any need for anything any activity to take place, that NEMO is going to guide us accordingly. So I will encourage all Vincentians to remain calm, take the time prayerfully. Perhaps this is the time to just simply reflect and prayerfully.
Dr. Miller said that persons should mentally begin putting together plans to help family members, especially the elderly, those with disabilities, and children.
To bear in mind those who are less fortunate, those who are elderly, those who are dependent, so the young children, the elderly, those who are disabled in any way. We don't want to take things for granted, so you want to put things in place now for them so that when you get that word, because if you would have heard the press conference, it gives you 48 hours, and it's a lot that persons may have to put in place for within that time. So even now, start putting together a plan mentally, how you're going to go about doing certain things. When persons are doing evacuations, always remember your medications. Remember anything that is valuable to you that you can hold on to, then you put those things away. I remember, when I was very young, that My grandparents and my mom used to always have this little bag. This is the emergency bag. So, you know, you pack certain things and put all of these important documents and everything in one place that you could just simply grab.
And some COVID-19 related news now. We heard that 2 new COVID-19 cases have been recorded in SVG, and the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, said in a release issued on Tuesday, December 29th, that the new cases have no travel history. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Simone Keyser-Beach said that the Ministry of Health is doing contact tracing and as of this morning had identified 66 contacts associated with these 2 cases. In an interview with SVG-TV News, Dr. Keyser-Beach said they have so far unable to identify the source of the infection.
Morning, Wednesday morning, the 30th of December, we have identified 66 contacts of those 2 persons who were found to be positive for coronavirus. We have not been able to identify the source of the infection. We are doing testing and further contact tracing, and should be able to update the general public later today on the results of the test.
The CMO said they have some concerns regarding expected celebrations this weekend, which may involve mass gatherings. She is urging organizers, hosts, and those attending to adhere to the ministry's COVID-19 protocols regarding mass gatherings.
Use masks where possible, and that the proprietors of the establishments that will be hosting some of these celebrations we set, that they attempt to register at least 1 person per group, so that if we need to do contact tracing, we would be able to do that more quickly and efficiently. And that is extremely important now because of the situation we are in, where we are still actively doing contact tracing. The contacts are wide and in various locations, various establishments, including some places of entertainment. And that has proven to be quite challenging because there are no records of who was there.
With respect to the added issue of the eruption of the volcano, the CMO has reassured the public, noting that their emergency plan, which was tested in 2019 during the trade winds exercise, has been activated.
And the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Environment, the Surveillance Committee, we have done scenarios, we have done created plans, response plans, which take into consideration volcanic eruptions and where we would have situations of an infectious outbreak during a volcanic eruption. And this is something we actually tested during the trade winds exercise of 2019. So we have activated our volcanic eruption plan with the modifications for COVID. And this is something that we are very conscious of, and we are putting in place things so that we would not compromise our response.
And 2 business houses have had to take swift action following COVID-19 related incidents. The CEO of one of the business houses, a utility company, informed his staff yesterday that one of their colleagues had tested positive for the SARS-CoV-2, which causes the coronavirus. The Ministry of Health has been testing the employees who were in contact with the infected person, and the employees have been asked to quarantine. The second incident involved 12 employees at a branch of the business house, which is a service provider. A memo to employees yesterday explained that the branch was being closed for 2 days yesterday and today, December 30th, 2020, to be sanitized in accordance with the Ministry of Health's cleaning guidelines, as employees there were exposed to someone who had tested for the coronavirus. The CEO stressed that no employee had tested COVID-19 positive, but the branch staff were expected to go through the established protocols for contact tracing, as the COVID-19 task force had been notified of the incident. Two police corporal copped the award for Policeman of the Year and Policewoman of the Year at the 2020 Police Dinner Awards held last evening at the Russell's Auditorium. The accolades bestowed on Corporal 192 Douglas Caesar and Corporal 228 Judy Franklin were among 62 awards distributed at the function, which saw another female, Constable PC 843 Venetia King awarded as Sportswoman of the Year, and PC 593 Kesrick Williams named Sportsman of the Year. Commissioner of Police Colin John praised all the awardees for doing exceedingly well in 2020 to ensure citizens are safe despite the challenges faced. He said that hard work pays off and urged other officers not to be discouraged.
Continue to persevere, continue to bring your A game, continue to be professional and serve the public, so that at the end of the day, the organization will not be able to say you're looking for promotion and you marking time or you're not doing your job. Let us, as commissioners, let us feel guilty for not promoting you. You do your part and throw the ball in our court so that we would have no choice but to promote you.
The commission noted that a 6% decrease in crime was recorded this year and thanked the officers for doing their part in ensuring this happened.
2019, we had 5,260 crimes in total. This year, we have 4,939, a decrease of 6%. I just want to thank the members of the Royal St. Vincent and Grenadines Police Force for their hard work.
Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, who has cabinet responsibility for security, spoke briefly at the awards ceremony and thanked the police for their discipline and hard work. He also updated them on the situation of the Soufrière volcano and reminded them that they will be called upon if the need arises.
We can rely on a number of individuals and organizations, including the men and women of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force. I have absolutely no doubt about that. This has been a very challenging year, but we have come through the year pretty well. And part of it is being just.
A bill that brings SVG into greater compliance with EU tax demands was passed in the House of Assembly on Monday, December 28, 2020. The International Tax Cooperation Economic Substance Bill 2020 require entities resident in SVG that carry on specified types of geographical mobile business to meet economic substance requirements designed to ensure that real economic activity is carried on or undertaken here in respect to the income they generate from these businesses for enforcing those obligations. It is also designed to provide for connection for those purposes. Minister of Finance Camilla Gonsalves, tabling the bill, said this will enable SVG not to be blacklisted by the EU.
Because now that we say legally there is no tax on global income, and others may come into the jurisdiction to take advantage of that. So the European Union counters by saying you have to be connected to the jurisdiction. You have to have economic substance, a substantive connection. to the jurisdiction, and if we don't, well, we're back on the blacklist train again. Economic substance refers to a judicial doctrine of tax law.
Contributing to the debate on the bill, leader of the opposition, Dr. Godwin Friday, questioned how much of an impact it would have on businesses, arguing that an assessment must be done before the legislation was introduced.
To what extent is that sort of business, resident here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, operating here, that do not yet meet the economic substance requirements of this legislation, and therefore, to what extent will they be affected? And by extension, the implication of that for employment in the sector, for income generation for local professionals in the sector. I don't know if any assessment was done of that, but I think that's something that ought to be part and parcel of this sort of exercise of introducing legislation of this nature.